Bullying. Bullying is an unwanted behaviour that is repeated over time. It can be physical, it can be psychological, or it can be emotional. The types of bullying can be, I might call you a name, I might isolate you in school, I might exclude you, or I might intimidate you. Cyberbullying is the latest form of bullying, that we see a lot in the headlines. And cyberbullying really is something that every parent, needs to be aware of, needs to speak to their child around and recognise how important it is that we have rules around respecting each other, treating people as you would wish to be treated yourself, monitoring younger children when they're online, and telling children the kind of behaviour that they want to see and expect from them. What are the symptoms of somebody, who may be bullied? Well, they may be anxious, they may be seeing less of the friends, they may be nervous, they may be unhappy. So these are all signs just to look out for. Why does somebody have a bullying behaviour? And I do call it a bullying behaviour rather than saying that they're a bully, because it's just another challenging behaviour. And if we understand that challenging behaviour isn't about this person trying to make someone else's life difficult, but it's more about how difficult this person is finding life. So they're actually using their behaviour as a cry for help. It's like a flag of distress that they're waving, hoping that somebody will pick it up. Maybe it hasn't been picked up at home, and maybe now they've brought the behaviour into school to see if somebody in school, if anybody out there can see that they need some help. People often bullied because they were bullied. They bully because maybe there's a lack of boundaries at home. They bully because maybe they're insecure. They bully because they're just not very happy. There's lots of reasons why people bully, but they need help, not punishment. With someone who's a bully, what is it we need to teach them? Empathy. That's the key word, to maybe sit with that child and say, how would you feel? How would you feel if day in, day out somebody said that to you? And they may initially say, oh, I wouldn't care. But stick with it and say, no, really, I think you would care. How would it impact on you? How would you feel? And if and when you get to the point where they might say, well, I wouldn't really like it, all of a sudden, that person, for the first time maybe, is able to understand it from another person's point of view. Why does somebody get bullied? Lack of self-esteem. I think it's so important as parents that we try to remember to build our children up. Don't break them down. See what they've done, not what they haven't done. Notice the improvement, notice the effort. The more that we do that, the more they have a good sense of themselves. And they walk into school and somebody says something to them and they say, don't say that again. I'm going to the teacher. And really we also need, with children where maybe the confidence isn't 100%, to teach them those skills. Teach your child to assert themselves, teach them to be able to speak up for themselves, to look that person in the eye, to hold their chin up. Some of the time I call it fake it till you make it. They may not feel it, but if they can actually pretend they feel it over time, because the bully will just move on to somebody else. The bully is looking for a reaction, and when they don't get a reaction, they will move on. Bullying happens to somebody who feels disempowered. So it's so important, if somebody comes home and they talk about an incident, it's so important that you don't further disempower them by taking over, by saying, I'll deal with this, I'll run into the school, don't you worry about it, leave it with me. It really is more about this child who really has been bullied because they're already slightly disempowered, needs to be empowered by saying, what would you like to happen? What do you think would make a difference here? What do you need? And also to be reassured and told you don't deserve to be treated like that. This behaviour is not about you, it's about them. And to record, monitor the incidents, go into the school, deal with the teacher or the principal. It can be taken to the board of management if you don't get a good response, but definitely to take bullying seriously. So top tips to prevent bullying: build your child's self-esteem, teach them to assert themselves. So if they live in a democratic house, it's so important that they have a voice, that you listen to them and they're allowed to speak up, because they may not always agree with what you have to say. That you make sure that they make eye contact with people. That's so important. That in a bullying situation, you know, that they make some neutral response or whatever and make it seem that it hasn't actually bothered them. It may have, but really bullies are looking for a reaction, and the less of a reaction they get, the more likely they are to move on. Thank you.